FM 93 or 93.2 island-wide.
In your news highlights. In your news headlines, rather. Exporters disenchanted with government's 45-day SVAT refund promise.
The news headlines on Gold FM.
Good afternoon. This is Dulia De Silva for Gold FM, bringing you your news in detail. In your news headlines, exporters disenchanted with government's 45-day SVAT refund promise. Government looking to solve number plate issue by November. AG to explore litigation over non-payment of Express Pearl compensation. In sports news, Pakistan set up Asia Cup final against India. And in news overseas, Trump says TikTok is a done deal, but no confirmation yet from China. Sri Lanka's total tax revenue has reached 3.4 trillion rupees by the fourth week of September, effectively surpassing its annual target. This was announced in Parliament yesterday by Minister Anil Jayanta Fernando, who stated that the country's primary budget balance has also exceeded its annual target by over 200 billion rupees. The three main tax collection agencies have all exceeded their individual targets for 2025 as of the 23rd of September. According to the minister, the Inland Revenue Department has collected 1.545 trillion rupees, achieving 103% of the target. Sri Lanka Customs collected 1.679 trillion rupees, achieving 113% of the target, while the Excise Department collected 176 billion rupees, achieving 103% of its target. The minister added that Sri Lanka Customs has already surpassed the annual tax revenue target of 450 billion rupees from the importation of motor vehicles by collecting 470 billion rupees by the 23rd of September. The United Nations Committee on Enforced Disappearances is scheduled to review Sri Lanka's first periodic report today. The review, taking part in Geneva, is part of the CED's 29th session, which runs from the 22nd of September to the 2nd of October, and will take the form of a hybrid interactive dialogue. Sri Lanka's delegation is led by the Ministry of Justice and National Integration, Harshananayakara, and includes senior officials from the Attorney General's Department, the Ministry of Defence, the Police Department, and reconciliation bodies such as the Office on Missing Persons and the Office for Reparations. Sri Lanka ratified the International Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearances in May 2016 and submitted its initial report outlining implementation measures on the 23rd of August 2023. A team headed by a Sri Lankan has won the Universities for Goal 13 global competition organised by the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network. The team from Monash University also includes two other Sri Lankans, submitted a project demonstrating how microalgae can capture carbon emissions while producing valuable products. They say the project shows how algae can spearhead the future of clean industry. The winning team was led by Associate Professor Saman Ilangakorn, a Sri Lankan academic, and included Sri Lankan PhD scholar Manuja Dainand, alongside business student Lord Lo Yi Singh and Shafiq Ahmed Shed Ali. The group beat finalists from top universities, including UCL, Hamburg and Tsinghua. They will receive a $10,000 prize and an international networking opportunity to further their network. Sri Lanka's exporters, a core component of the nation's export economy, are sounding the alarm over a potential cash flow crisis as the government prepares to remove the simplified value-added tax scheme on the 1st of October. One of the main industry's bodies, the Joint Apparel Association Forum, is urging for a more cautious approach, citing concerns over system readiness and the risk of disruption to thousands of exporters.
Exporters have all raised their concerns at every available opportunity, flagging our concerns on the impact that this will have on the export industry. The status as of now is that the new act has been passed and the SVAT scheme will be repealed on the 1st of October. As responsible chambers, we accept that SVAT is due to be removed in what is now less than a week, but we are all extremely concerned that the systems are not in place to ensure a seamless digital refund scheme that would ensure refunds are made in the 45-day period. We have all been in continuous dialogue with policymakers on a range of issues around the transition from a cashless system to a cash-based system. Unfortunately, however, there has been no pilot or proof of concept done to demonstrate that this is in fact possible. The impact of cash flow on exporters remains one of our main concerns. We would point out that the 45-day refund is actually between 75 and 105 days, as the Inland Revenue Department clock only commences at the end of the month following the month in which your VAT return is made. For example, the 45 days for October's VAT refunds only starts from the 30th of November. The apparel sector, which contributes significantly to Sri Lanka's export earnings, estimates that a value of around 12 billion rupees will be paid in VAT to the Inland Revenue Department once its VAT is removed. This 12 billion will then need to be reprocessed and refunded back to the exporter in this 45-day period. Timely refunds are therefore critical to managing cash flows, and in an industry that is already under pressure from declining global prices and the impact of US reciprocal tariffs, JAF estimates that if every refund is made in 45 days, the interest cost to the apparel industry alone is over 2.5 billion rupees a year. In addition, the removal of SVAT will directly impact suppliers to the industry. The deemed exporters who have helped build a $1 billion raw material base in Sri Lanka will face immediate competitiveness challenges.
JAF estimates that with the removal of SVAT, the industry will pay approximately 12 billion Sri Lankan rupees in VAT to the Inland Revenue Department. The exporters note that despite repeated assurances from the IRD that its systems are ready for timely refunds, no trial run has been conducted to prove their capacity. What's more, a representative from the Tea Exporters Association, Ganesh Devanayagam, went as far as to draw parallels to a previous government's grave mistake of banning fertilizer.
We have been due payers of taxes. We were enjoying concessionary tax. All these years we were paying 15% income tax compared to other local businesses were paying 30%. And when the economic problems were faced, the taxes were increased. They listened, but they didn't do anything. They are just blindly going ahead with what they decided to do. We wouldn't have a problem with that also if we were given the assurance that they were doing something that they understand. The example that we gave even to some of the current officials and ministers were when an earlier government decided to completely ban chemical fertilizers. So many people went and cried, scientists went and cried, please don't be in a rush to do it. Please think about it. Listen to the scientists, listen to the farmers. They said, no, we know better. We are going to do this. And we all know what the result is. And tea industry was the biggest affected industry for that decision. We were producing 300 million kilos of tea and exporting year on year. And when this was hit, we became 250 million kilos. Why I am giving this example is when government makes a unilateral decision without listening to people who are really facing these problems, effect can be disastrous.
The exporters themselves shared that the president had given them a reassurance that this removal would not go ahead without a proper refund system. With that being the case, our staff reporter Arvin Indrasoma quizzed the industry leaders on what tangible proof of concept exists.
You mentioned the President gave personal assurance that if there is no existing system or there is no working system, he will not go forward with. What system has the President seen that y'all haven't seen? Or is he taking the word of someone that y'all don't know? What's going on here?
So I think the answer to that is Indian Revenue has done some simulations and so on. So there has been some work that is being done within Indian Revenue, and we can only assume, we don't know the answer. We can only assume that they have seen something. As exporters, we have not.
A Supreme Court bench has ordered the Attorney General to investigate the legal action that can be taken against the foreign company that owns the Express Pearl vessel. This is over their refusal to pay the compensation ordered in the fundamental rights cases filed over the fire in the ship. The Attorney General is to submit a report to the court on the 26th of January next year. The case was brought before the Supreme Court based on a motion filed by the Sea Consortium of Sri Lanka, the local agent for the Express Pearl, regarding the compensation payments. The three-judge Supreme Court bench, comprising Justices Shiran Gunaratne, Achala Vengapulli and Priyantha Fernando, gave this judgment. During the proceedings, the counsel representing the foreign company Express Feeders, which was named as a respondent in the petitions, informed the court that he was withdrawing his power of attorney. No legal representation for the company appeared before the court after the initial withdrawal. Counsel for the petitioners, Ravindranath Dabare, stated that the Supreme Court had previously ordered the foreign company to pay $1 billion in compensation for the environmental damage caused by the ship's incident, to be paid within a year. He further pointed out that $250 million of this amount were due before the 23rd of September. However, the sum has not yet been paid. Dabare argued that the company was in contempt of court, and that even without a formal complaint, the court had the power to proceed with a contempt of court case against the company. He requested that a proper trial be held against the company's directors and that they be punished accordingly. Himali Kularatne, a counsel representing the fishing community, also had arguments along those lines. The other lawyers representing the petitioners agreed with these arguments. Then, President's counsel K. Kanang Iswaran, representing the local company Sea Consortium Sri Lanka, stated that his client had paid 300 million rupees of the compensation ordered by the Supreme Court. He explained that this was the maximum amount his company could afford to pay, and they lacked the financial capacity to pay any more. The President's counsel argued that his client had complied with the court's order and therefore had not committed contempt of court. Following this, Deputy Solicitor General Madhava Tennakun, representing the Attorney General, informed the court that work was underway to establish the Compensation Commission and the Environmental Damage Assessment Commission, as per the Supreme Court's orders. He also noted that the criminal investigations regarding the incident were ongoing. The Deputy Solicitor General further argued that the defendant company had committed contempt of court by failing to pay the compensation ordered by the Supreme Court. Justice Achala Vengapulli, a member of the three-judge bench, stated in open court that the Supreme Court had done its utmost within its legal limits to recover compensation for the damage caused by the ship's disaster. The judge also pointed out that beyond this, the responsibility for enforcing the compensation lies with the executive. He also noted that merely jailing the directors of the defendant company would not solve the problem. The bench then ordered the case to be recalled on the 26th of January to review the progress of the orders issued. The Disrupt Asia 2025 conference, a high-powered panel convened to discuss Sri Lanka's roadmap to becoming South Asia's innovation hub, got underway. Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe opened the discussion by emphasising that future growth must be driven by new and modern sectors.
We have our macro situation pretty much stabilized now from the crisis point that we had in 2022 and 2023. For example, now economic growth, what we were expecting under the baseline scenario of the IMF is around 3% growth, medium term, long term, but continuously 6 quarters of growth. We have reached close to 5% now, and we're going to see continuously potential and ability to grow around 5% in next several years, which will obviously lay the foundation for better living standards, higher per capita income, all these things will happen with the stabilization of overall macro situation, fiscal, monetary, external in terms of reserves, current accounts, all these things. It's moving quite nicely. Going forward, what's important is to stabilization convert into a growth trajectory which will fast track the improvements in the country. For that, you see, one initiative is digitalization, digital public infrastructure, digitalization across all the sectors of the economy. That is where one of the key initiatives is to enable this continuous high growth path going next several years, is to bring in those reforms, and one important one is digitalization to enable this growth.
Dr. Hans Vijaysurya, the chief advisor to the president on digital economy, addressed the export sector's target of reaching $5 billion by 2030. He explained that a new legal and institutional framework is being built up to help local startups scale and remain headquartered in Sri Lanka. The World Bank's country manager, Georg Sargsyan, outlined the bank's commitment to supporting the government's digital vision. He identified 3 core areas of focus: skills, policies, and critical infrastructure, while also underscoring the importance of learning from the successes of other nations. Dumindu Hulangamua, senior economic advisor to the president, provided a pragmatic look at the legislative changes underway to attract foreign investment. He explained the government's shift from offering generous tax holidays to creating an environment of stability, with specific updates to the Port City and Strategic Development Projects Act.
Sri Lanka has largely come out of using the tax lever as the incentive for growth. We did use it in the past. It has worked in some instances, didn't work in certain instances. For whatever reasons, when the economic crisis came, it was largely due to the lower taxes that we had at one particular time. Today, we are trying to reshape this economy on economic stability and macro fundamentals, rather than using the tax lever as an incentive for investments. But having said that, the government is aware of the competition it faces from regional peers. The Port City Act was brought about 5 years ago, and then the Gazette notifications came 2 years back to grant very generous incentives to anyone who's inside the Port City, going up to 25 years. That we have revised from 25 years to reduce period 4. So you find in the Port City 2 types of investments. One is the primary investment, which is called the guys who are putting up the structures. They will have a maximum of 15 years tax holiday. That has been approved by the IMF and the Cabinet. It will not be legislated yet. The secondary investment is where all in the IT services, regional operating headquarters, trading houses, all the people who are going to come and invest inside Sri Lanka, but to serve clients and customers overseas, not clients and customers in Sri Lanka. Those companies we have somewhat agreed, I am telling this, but it's not approved by Cabinet yet, but it will get approved, is that we'll have a reduced rate of 7.5% rate for those companies. What is called secondary investment, that is all the companies who are providing software, IT, technology, service-oriented exports outside of Sri Lanka will have a 7.5% tax rate.
During a special raid conducted by the Western North Criminal Division, they successfully located a cache of illegal arms and ammunition in the Palyaguda area. The weapons allegedly belong to Kehilbhadra Padme, an alleged organised crime figure and drug trafficker currently in the custody of the Criminal Investigation Department. The WNCD recently questioned Kehilbhadra Padme for approximately 4 hours while he was in CID custody. During the questioning regarding his firearms, Padme had requested permission from the investigating officers to make a phone call to an individual residing overseas. This request was granted under the full supervision of the Western North Criminal Division officers. Based on the information gathered during the supervised phone call, the officers were able to uncover the location of the weapons. The weapons and gear seized this morning in Palyaguda include a pistol-type firearm, over 500 live T-56 ammunition rounds, 4 T-56 magazines, and a pair of handcuffs. Minister of Transport Vimal Ratnayake has stated that new vehicle number plates with more advanced security features are expected to be issued by the 15th of November. The minister made the announcement while addressing Parliament today. The National Building Research Organisation has issued landslide warnings for several districts due to the prevailing inclement weather. A Level 2 pre-warning for landslides has been issued for the Kalutara and Matara districts. Meanwhile, a Level 1 warning is in effect for the Galle and Ratnapura districts. Fitch Ratings has assigned Haley's Fenton's Limited, a subsidiary of Haley's plc, a national long-term rating of A+, with a stable outlook. The rating reflects HFL's leading role in Sri Lanka's rooftop solar panel market, which drove strong cash flows in financial year 2025, although future growth may slow due to changes in regulations. The company is also expanding into power generation, which could improve long-term revenue, but comes with execution risks. All of HFL's planned projects will sell power to the Ceylon Electricity Board, whose weak credit quality remains a concern. Fitch noted that HFL earned around 19 billion rupees in financial year 2025 from rooftop solar installations, adding 129 megawatts of capacity. However, sales are expected to ease in the coming years after feed-in tariffs were cut from 37 rupees to 21 rupees per kilowatt-hour, making solar investments less attractive for customers. To diversify, HFL is investing in new renewable power projects, including a 50-megawatt wind power plant and 37 solar plants, with a total capacity of 149 megawatts. The wind project, delayed to September 2026, and the solar plants, once completed, are expected to contribute around two-thirds of EBITDA by financial year 2028. Fitch forecasts leverage to rise sharply, peaking at 9 times in financial year 2027, due to heavy borrowing for these projects, before improving to around 3 times by financial year 2028 as cash flow starts. Interest coverage is also expected to fall from 6 times in financial year 2025 to around 3.5 times in the medium term. Hemas Holdings plc announced that it has signed a conditional share sale and purchase agreement to acquire majority stake in a consumer products company in Kenya. The company said in a filing to the Colombo Stock Exchange that the deal is subject to regulatory approvals from the Competition Authority of Kenya and the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, along with other customary conditions. Hemas expects the transaction to be completed within the next 6 months. The Board of Directors approved the agreement on the 25th of September, and the company said it will provide further updates as the process moves forward. US President Donald Trump has signed an executive order clearing the way for the sale of TikTok's US business to American and international investors, saying the plan addresses national security concerns. The new US company, valued at around $14 billion, will run the app domestically and retrain its recommendation algorithm under the oversight of security partners. Vice President J.D. Vance stated that the deal ensures Americans' data privacy is protected, although analysts noted the valuation is far below earlier estimates of $30 to $40 billion. Trump said Chinese President Xi Jinping has signaled approval of the arrangement, while ByteDance, TikTok's Chinese parent, has yet to comment. Chinese media reports suggested ByteDance will retain a role through a new US entity-managed e-commerce and international links, potentially complicating the White House narrative. TikTok, with 170 million American users, has been credited by Trump with boosting his re-election bid. His confirmed investors include Michael Dell and Rupert Murdoch, and they will join the joint venture. The move delays until January enforcement of a 2024 law that bans TikTok in the US unless its Chinese owners sell. Emma Watson said she still loves Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling, even though they disagree on gender identity issues. Watson, who criticised Rowling's views in 2020, said in a new interview that she hopes people can still love each other despite differences. Rowling appeared to dismiss the comments, posting online about people who once joined the mob, now trying to hide their pitchforks. Pakistan has set up an Asia Cup final showdown with India after successfully defending a low total of 136 to beat Bangladesh by 11 runs in their final Super 4 match. The arch-rivals will face each other in Dubai on Sunday. Defending champions India have defeated Pakistan twice already in the tournament, but the matches have been marked by friction between the two sides. Both previous encounters saw issues with players and captains not shaking hands, which Pakistan's coach cited as being refused by the Indian side. The subsequent Super Fours match also featured several flashpoints between the players, indicating a highly charged final is expected. That's it for now. This is Dolia De Silva for Gold FM. Thank you and have a great day ahead.